everyone, happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Want to try to keep this video short, even though I could probably talk for hours about both these families. And I'm going to also introduce next week to you. So just to do a little quick recap of where I work for a nonprofit called Friends of Karen that provides services through the tri-state area to families that have a child with a life-threatening illness. We get our initial referrals almost always from the hospital social worker, and then the family actually has to make the initial phone call to Friends of Karen. There's an application process, packet, etc. that gets done, and then they initially meet with the social worker that they get assigned to from Friends of Karen. From there, if the social worker feels like there is the need for either support for the patient or for siblings in the home, then they get in contact with us and we will go and meet the family. We also provide anything from whether it's just a phone call if the parents have a few questions on, specific wording or, how to talk to them about their diagnosis or things like that. Sometimes we just do phone calls. Other times it may be 1 or 2 sessions in the home just initially. And then sometimes it's ongoing weekly or bi-weekly sessions that can go on for quite some time. So that's how the organization works. And initially when I meet with a family, I actually meet with the parents first and fill out an entire questionnaire for the family. Everything from previous things that may have been going on with the siblings, all the way through what words they use to describe what's going on. Have they talked to them about it? Are they comfortable with that? So a very, really thorough assessment with the parents initially before meeting the kids. And from there we work with the kids. So because the organization really serves the family as a whole, part of what this talk was about was, is there a primary patient? Do you chart on everybody? Do you chart on them individually in one note? And what's really neat about our organization and the way we have an online electronic charting is set up it's set up as a family unit. So when you go in to my dashboard, for instance, I can see every family I'm working with, and then within that it's broken down by children. So I can see every kid I'm working with within the family, and I can chart on everyone at once. I can chart on them individually, depending on what I'm doing that day. The way our chart notes work electronically, we have them all in one section, but there's different kind of tabs for interventions. So there's sibling challenges, the ill child challenges. There are, just looking through my notes, a parent interdisciplinary intervention, a sibling intervention, the ill child's intervention, and then it goes down to goals. And so these are all checklists throughout the note, and then within each section there's room to write information that's important for each note. So in the case of Maria, when that entire family did something together, I was able just to take the notes that I use, and within each section I could discuss the individual things that occurred with the mom and with the 2 kids individually, even though it all is going to show up in the chart as one note. Because it's broken down into sections, it's very easy to follow and very easy to see. The other thing that's neat is because the chart itself is a family chart, you can click on any individual and see that part of the note or that note would be in there if they were part of that intervention. I will post later kind of an example of what our chart notes look like so you can see it and see how it looks online. The other neat thing within our charting system is that I can actually also upload pictures, which is really, really, really helpful. And especially if you're doing any types of art or anger play or different stuff, I can actually take pictures of that artwork or the game or whatever we're doing and upload it into the chart. And what's great about that is often it's the visual things that people see that are very powerful. The one that we talked about with the one case study I gave you with the handprint, that initial picture was something that actually got me more money to continue working with that family, because they pulled me back in specifically to do an assessment with this child. And once that happened, they immediately went and found funds for me to work with them, which shows the power of documentation and charting as well. So quickly to go over that. So as you guys talked about, if there's a primary patient or not, in these instances with our organization, not really, because it could be that I'm just working specifically with a sibling, or I could be going into work specifically with the parents for a couple sessions. So it is really just a family-oriented program, and really work with everyone throughout the illness, considering it affects every single person of the family. The other thing I wanted to touch on with your narrative notes, you'll see that most of you guys, we +1 them and didn't really comment. All of them are really great, giving kind of a play-by-play of what happened in that session, and some goals at the end. So you guys all did a really, really good job with that. I find in the notes that I write, I kind of end up doing a little bit more of a narrative note when I'm just writing kind of details of what's occurred, because I already have the checklist for other stuff. So I find that type of note is really helpful to be able to use with this. A couple other things that were mentioned was if there are notes sharing within the hospitals for an agency such as mine. And I don't share my chart notes that I do with the hospital. However, we do have full disclosure to discuss the patient and the family with the hospital that they're treated. So part of our program initially is we have a whole bunch of forms that the parents fill out for permission. So permission to take pictures of artwork, permission to discuss what's going on medically with the hospital, and giving us permission to talk to not only child life specialists or social workers, but also the doctors. So we have we have permission to do that, which is really helpful, as well as I can also talk to the school. So especially when working with siblings, really important to be able to talk to the school and see what's going on there, especially if there are kids that are having trouble with their grades or not wanting to go to school. So we have a lot of collaboration outside of our organization of who we talk to with families. One thing quickly that I find with working with families in their homes is often we learn a lot more information from the families than the hospital typically knows. And I think that's partly because they feel really comfortable with us. We're in their safe spot. Also, we're helping them financially. And so they instantly have that kind of trust with our organization because we're helping kind of the concrete needs. So they feel really comfortable. They often will share that they're afraid to tell the hospital certain things because they don't want to be judged, or they don't want to have, they're worried about the care they'll receive. So we do a lot of collaboration with the hospital, working with the staff there to make sure that we're kind of meeting all around needs, which are really, really important. Also things such as if a child really wants to be prepped for some sort of procedure they're having, then I would initially call their child life specialist and say, is this something you've done? Can you be there for the procedure? Can you do this? That way I know I'm not going to be redundant and, bring my legacy doll and do a whole prep session if the child life specialist there is doing it. So we try really hard to work together to make sure that we're kind of covering everything and making sure we're not kind of overlapping different stuff. So also because certain things are done a little differently per hospital, so I don't ever want to be someone that isn't quite aware of how things are happening depending on the hospital, since we work with a number of hospitals in the area. So that's something that collaboration is really helpful for. And so we are very much in touch with the hospital during this process. The other great thing about working at an agency is that we can follow the patient no matter what hospitals they're going to. So they may change hospitals because of different protocols. They may fly to Texas to try some sort of protocol they have out there, and we will follow them throughout that. Even if a patient was in another state getting treatment, I would still be going to work with the siblings if that was something that I was doing. So very neat in that sense. Other neat thing is we will follow through the end of treatment. In the case of end of life or bereavement, we stay in and can do bereavement work, or we'll come back in to do bereavement work And then we have an annual memorial service as well. So it feels like it's very huge continuity of care within the organization with these families, which is really nice. So that's that. If you guys have questions for me, whether it's on the family specifically of interventions I did versus the charting, please just write them in the comment section. Again, I'll upload some examples of charting so you can see what it looks like for an outside agency. Also, for next week, or starting tomorrow, we're going to be going over the bi-directional method. You'll see that there is an assignment that's going to be due to the classroom at the end of the week as well. There's more information on that in the assignment packet, so if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us as well once you have reviewed that. I think I have covered everything. I'm sorry for this long video. I tried to keep it short, but I could talk for a long time about these situations. So again, if you have any questions about anything I've gone over, please feel free to write a comment and I will answer it that way. I look forward to seeing you guys online this week and hope you have a great Sunday. Bye.